Well, joining us now is Jessica Millen Patterson. She is the chairwoman of the Republican Party of the state of California, and it is good to have you back here.
Hey, Guy. Great to be with you.
I want to play just a quick clip for you. So Harris gave this speech, rolling out this crazy economic agenda, and I don't use that word sort of flippantly here. I think some of these ideas are truly crazy. Hardcore left-wing, very, very harmful. And also it's similarly crazy to try to pretend like, things are rough in the country. And she spent a lot of time talking about how bad things are economically and how much pain there is for American consumers, and then try to make the case that she's going to usher in some new era as if she's not the incumbent, as if she's not responsible. Her policies, she and Biden, for the misery that she described at length in the speech in North Carolina. So I saw someone, and I did chuckle at this, someone just clipped one example of this from her speech and just wait till the very end, listen to cut 29.
A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up almost 50%.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
It's like a Trump campaign ad. When she's going through and talking about how home ownership is out of reach for people and how much more groceries cost and all of it, as if Donald Trump's in office and she's the one challenging him. In fact, the opposite is the case.
It's absolutely laughable. And she keeps talking about day one. Day one for you was 3.5 years ago. And if we really want to look at your record, we're not just looking at the last 3.5 years. The friends of mine in California can tell you firsthand, it's been the last 20 years. And if you want to look at what you are going to be facing across the country, wherever you are, look at what she had done and the leadership she had in California. When we talk about energy, let's not forget, she was the Senate sponsor for the Green New Deal. Here in California, where we have some of the most and greatest and in-depth natural resources, we have the highest gas prices in the nation, the highest gas taxes in the nation. Why? Because they don't want a permit. There is a war on energy here in California. Chevron, a company that has been based here for 145 years, has made the decision to leave and base their operations in Texas. Why? Because they are more energy friendly. When we talk about rent prices, the cost of living here in California, only 15% of Californians can afford to own a home. Everything costs more here in California, and she's looking around for the person to blame instead of looking in the mirror.
They always do this, right? And you're very familiar with it out in California, where they go bleeding edge left on virtually everything, and then bad things happen inevitably. Even with, you think about the natural resources that your state has, the beauty, the weather, these huge tech companies. It has a lot of major, major advantages. So, they're not totally killing your state because the state is so resilient in so many ways, but they are making it demonstrably worse and worse and less affordable and less competitive. And yet they have this hubris that it has nothing to do with them. It has nothing to do with their policies. It's those rotten people who have no power in the state of California. And just every solution is one more Democratic election away, like Big D getting elected. It's just elect us again, and we'll get our arms around it next time. We just need to do more of our policies. That's the story that they keep telling here. And not only that, on top of it, they want to export that ideology to the rest of the country. There's a lot of people in your state, Harris. I can think about your governor, too, who clearly have national ambitions, have had them for a long time. They're like, let's take what we're doing here and let's do that to the rest of the country because we're so great. It's remarkable, the arrogance.
Well, and I don't think there's anywhere else in the country that is looking at California saying this is what we should be doing. And the people that it's actually hurting the most is the middle class. Another great example is the fact that California lost a congressional district for the first time in our state's history with this last reapportionment. With over 10 years of Democrat one-party rule, one of the things and one of the biggest issues that Californians continue to look at, and many Americans are looking at, is public safety. And here in California, she was a district attorney. She was our attorney general. We have a statewide proposition system here where we can vote on laws as, direct democracy, if you will, by the people here in California. But the attorney general is responsible for writing the title and summary for all of these propositions. 10 years ago, she gave the title and summary for Proposition 47. This is the Public Safety and Rehabilitation Act. That was Prop 57. That particular proposition basically freed felons into our communities. We also had the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act. This decriminalized theft up to $950. When you are sitting in your home in Tennessee and you are watching these smash and grabs that seem to be an everyday occurrence in California, and you're watching these mobs of people come in and run out into cars and get away, they're all very precisely calculating up to $950 so they can get a ticket and be on with their day and go on with their day.
If they get caught at all.
Exactly. And then we have these incredibly woke prosecutors, which she once was a San Francisco DA, and she endorsed and backed George Gascon, who is here now in Los Angeles, who doesn't prosecute any of these crimes. We are seeing the fallout from this 10 years later, and in fact, we have a new proposition that has bipartisan support because it has gotten so bad. Even Democrats are realizing their failed experiments when it comes to public safety. $150 million that the LA mayor wanted to cut from the police, and Kamala Harris supported that.
Oh, she cheered it on. Yep.
Absolutely.
That's literally defunding police, and she applauded it and said we need more of it, right, while she was doing the bail fund for the rioters in Minneapolis. I mean, the list goes on and on. Just quickly here in the time that we have left, what was her reputation politically? We all know that the ideas are terrible, but her political reputation in the state of California before she went national, so to speak. 1 minute.
So she's certainly a very cunning politician, and she came very close to losing that attorney general's race. She actually ran up against Steve Cooley, and it was the tightest race that we had statewide. And so from there, she kind of built on this persona within the Democrat Party of being somewhat untouchable. But we saw what that rollout looked like in the presidential campaign in 2020. She's absolutely beatable. And had she not gotten into this position the way that she did, without any primary delegates actually voting for her, I don't think she would have ever gotten there.
Well, she got no votes when she ran for president last time in the primary process because she dropped out before it started. Then she got no votes this time either, and yet here she is. So I think there are lessons out of California that need to be learned by the entire country, and we've got 3 months to learn those lessons. Jessica Millen Patterson, chairwoman of the GOP in California, thank you so much, ma'am.